Hello, hello, hello. Hopefully, this is working. We get situated about chair before it starts, making a bunch of noises when I move. Alright. Everything seems to be working, and I would imagine that this is Ring of Honor, episode number 140 TV review, ROH on Honor Club, episode 140. Last week, I will say it kind of messed my week up a little bit, not reviewing ROH on a Thursday night, because instead we opted to wait until Saturday night to review it. That way we could discuss the Bandito Mascara Dorada match that took place on Collision for the Ring of Honor World title, nonetheless. That was the main reason we obviously discussed it. So it's been less than a week since our last ROH TV review, but we're here this time around to discuss episode number 140 of ROH on Honor Club. This, I will admit, was a fun episode as we are on the road to Final Battle 2025. And I will also say, going into this episode, I did not expect to get some Final Battle announcements, but we have two during the course of this episode. You're going to stay tuned to find out what they are. So good on ROH for doing that. Good on ROH for putting on a enjoyable episode. The only real complaint, and I'm saying that in with air quotes, is I couldn't really tell you what the main drive for Final Battle will be this year. Where some years prior you could, like there's a big, because it's Final Battle's the biggest show of the year, there's like a big angle, a lot of going on and whatnot. In the past couple of years, it just hasn't really been the case. It's been last minute, it's been big matches, but last minute booking. I will admit I'm kind of getting flashbacks and nightmares of last year's Ring of Honor World title match, the men's side. Because I was thinking about Final Battle last year, and I was like, yeah, that happened. But if you remember it, you remember it. I'm going to try my best to not. All in all, we're here to discuss Ring of Honor on Honor Club, episode number 140. And here we go. Speaking of that Bandito Mascara Dorada match, they did recap it for us here in the opening. As our opening contest, I will admit, Shane Taylor Promotions heavy episode, as they are the opening contest, they are the middle contest, and they are the main event. So good on that group. But our opening contest this week for the 6-man tag team titles, Shane Taylor Promotions is defending against the Workhorsemen and BEEF, as Carly Bravo and Anthony Henry start the match off, but once BEEF tags in, he is trapped in his opponent's corner, including a splash by Shane Taylor. He fights back after a cartwheel and a drop kick to Taylor, and also lands a belly-to-belly suplex. He's then distracted by Anthony Ogogo arguing with the referee when, out of nowhere, Roosh appears with his championship title belt in his hands, where he hits BEEF in the head, setting up the Infantry to retain the 6-man tag titles after hitting a double curb stomp. And then after the match, Shane Taylor Promotions attack on their opponents even more until Top Flight and Scorpio Sky come out to save the Workhorsemen and BEEF and promptly set up our next matchup, which is Sky Flight versus Matt Menard and the Kingdom. Bennett and Darius start the match off with the Kingdom land. This is a very Kingdom heavy. A lot of moves by the Kingdom in this match. We got a pop-up punch by the Kingdom on Dante, and then Darius tries to do a dive to the outside when Bennett trips him, and then Taven lands a drop kick on him. The Kingdom then land a slingshot into a knee, into an elbow drop for a 2 count. We got a tornado DDT by Top Flight that gets a 2 count, and then we got a Sky High by Scorpio Sky, so fitting move that gets a 2 count, and when he later hits the TKO, it ends the match. So maybe Skyflight did mention that they wanted the 6-man tag title, so I'd imagine that's somewhat of a direction we could see happening pretty soon. So we'll see what happens then. Lance Archer and Hechicero team up to face the OXP and the Orion. We also get a recap prior to the match of the Don Callis family's problem with QT Marshall and Big Boom AJ, which I think, again, that is a match that's supposed to be taking at place on the Full Gear 0 hour, but there's been like a official match graphic for it, but they think that QT Marshall is a clown, so there's that. OXP and Hechicero start this match off. One part of the match, Archer tosses OXP onto the Orion. Hechicera applies a surfboard with Archer coming in to break up his own partner's move, but he just does it to bring more chaos, landing a choke slam with Hechicera winning the match for his team with a straight jacket. So the Doghouse family win. Fun matchup up next. Robin Renegade and Taya Valkyrie versus Yuka Sakazaki and Alex Windsor. Yuka Sakazaki and Robin Renegade start the match off. But in the ring, it picks up once Taya and Alex tag in, landing several chops on one another. Afterwards, Yuka is trapped in her opponent's corner until tagging Windsor back in, who mainly brings lariats and a Blue Thunder Bomb that gets a 2 count. She then lands a cannonball to the outside that takes out Robin. While in the ring, Yuka Sakazaki picks up the win for her team with the Magical Girl Splash, as she still has a matchup in the Women's Pure Title Tournament against Serena Deeb. Now, I have been complaining about this tournament for almost a year because, in my opinion, it was just announced way too early. And it's also just something that I don't know how many people care about it. And AEW, and in this instance, I guess you could say ROH, love adding championships. So the next, all this will come to, you will understand at some point. But I have had this theory that the reason that this title tournament has been going on for so long is that they're trying to extend it that way it ended at Final Battle. And that was confirmed tonight. So one of the Final Battle announcements was that the Women's Pure Title Tournament will conclude there with the first champion being crowned. So I'm glad that, I can at least say I was right. And it's somewhat, just because I've just not had the most fun watching this tournament. All right, let me counter that. The matches have been good. Them drawing it out for so long has made me not hype it up and or care as much for it, because it's something that should have already been done or something that should have been waited till it's all put together. My comparison was when playoffs are going on in sports, that is the only thing that matters. To where a lot of these competitors have been in matches that are in the tournament, and then they're just in exhibition matches, warm-up matches, quote-unquote, but they're already in the tournament, while the other people they're in the tournament against are they've drawn this tournament out for way too long. But I will at least admit that one of the matches they have been hyping up, and I think was the biggest match of the first round, does take place tonight. Again, we've been waiting weeks upon months for this first round matchup in the Women's Pure Title Tournament, that being Trish Adora versus Deonna Purrazzo. This match, again, we've been waiting weeks and months for it. Starts off with Purrazzo, I just combined her name, Purrazzo, landing a closed fist, which, the pure rules, that is a big no-no, but she starts the matchup off with that, trying to get some type of redemption against Trish. Then we get an armbar by Purrazzo early that uses Trish's first rope break. Both competitors start to target one another's arm until a suplex by Trish, and then she misses on a lariat tumbling attempt that Purrazzo puts her into an armbar and afterwards and picks up the victory. So Deonna Purrazzo advances in the first round of this tournament. Now we do have another Final Battle announcement, which makes me, again, a little bit happy. We got another Final Battle announcement, that the AEW national title will be on the line at this event. Now, I've somewhat been half-ass paying attention to AEW, / mainly announcements on Twitter and Full Gear. I've had Dynamite on my computer, but every Wednesday that it's been going on for the past month, there's been a Memphis Grizzlies game going on, so that gets my main attention. And then when it goes to commercial, I'll turn my head and look at Dynamite. So I will admit I've been half-assing paying attention to Dynamite. Even though what I'm talking about now was not fully a Dynamite announcement, it was a Twitter announcement. And, Twitter is probably one of the worst places to analyze and get notes on shit, if we're just being honest. Because especially in this situation, it has been chaotic because a lot of people don't think that AEW don't need another title. And so we're getting another title. And then it's just somewhat of an uproar because the NWA, this is the NWA title, and they think it's bullshit that is carried on. I don't know what to think. I don't really care what to think. Having so many titles, I will admit, does kind of get to a point. And I think that they ultimately messed up because I love the lineage and the heritage that the international title for a period felt as important / more important as the world title. And it kind of seems like they somewhat shelved that when they unified it with the Continental title, which I always thought from the beginning the Continental title just needed to be handed to the winner of the Continental Classic. Just like the winner of the Owen Hart tournament is handed a championship belt. It's your hard work for going into this tournament, you get this title. But instead, they kept the Continental title. It's mainly been with Okada, which I would love to do, because there's only been 2 champions, Eddie Kingston, Kazuchika Okada. I would love to do, until like research how many, it wouldn't take that long, boy. How many days was Eddie champion? How many days was Okada champion? Then you obviously get the percentage and whatnot. Point being, my point is that it seems that everything they want this national title to be, they had it with the international title, and it kind of seems like they've backdoored the international title to put it with the Continental title, which also having so many names with so many titles with so many similar names, is a bit headache. But regardless, this new title will be on the line at Final Battle, so that is something I will be interested in when the time comes around. Now, another thing for Final Battle, which you, realistically speaking, could have imagined, but 2 weeks from now on ROH TV, Athena will be defending the women's championship against Harley Cameron, because I do know on Dynamite, Harley Cameron picked up the win in the women's tag team title tournament, which is also hilarious. I was like, AEW's added so many titles, and then I just talked about another title they're adding. But regardless, Harley Cameron picked up the win against Athena. This is also a rematch from the women's Owen Hart Cup tournament. So Athena versus Harley Cameron, with the winner advancing to Final Battle. And they did not say who the winner will be facing, but they mentioned that it is a top international talent. So it is already a sign that we will be getting a women's title match at Final Battle, which is somewhat understandable. I also feel that our streak of Athena versus Billy Starks in Final Battle main events might be coming to an end. I just also kind of said Athena's going to win the special Harley Cameron. That's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. I would imagine it. It's not guaranteed. I could have a guess on who I think this opponent's going to be, but I will save it for next time. I want to think I want to think a little bit more on it. I do have an idea. I don't really want it to be this person either. So let me think on it. Give me a week. Maybe I'll have a better answer then. Back to ROH episode 1-4 reaction. Aaron Solo and Angelica Risk take on Wheeler, Yuta, and Marina Shafir, with Solo and Yuta starting the match off, mainly arm-dragging one another. When Shafir is tagged in, she takes Risk to the ground, eventually taking her boots and socks off and shoving it into the face of Risk. Yuta tags back in with an arm bar that he keeps on until the count of 4/5, Bryan Danielson style. As Shafir applies the Mother's Milk, with Yuta landing a Busaiku knee with the Mother's Milk chokehold by Shafir, ending the matchup, as both competitors are also lined up for the upcoming Blood and Guts matches. So, I will admit, Dynamite, I don't know if my Grizzlies are playing Wednesday night. I will say that, but I should be paying a lot more attention to this week's Dynamite, because it will be Blood and Guts edition. So, there's that. Satnam Singh takes on Gino Adonis up next. Singh lands a big chop, a big boot, and a big choke slam to pick up the victory, which I've also wrote down. Maybe the least amount of notes I've needed for a match, which is somewhat funny. Willie Mack and Alex Zane take on Lee Johnson and Blake Christian match in Blake Christian. And I will admit to y'all, this is a fun match, with Jay Lethal watching the backstage area because he's developed a issue with Lee Johnson, but mainly Blake Christian. Johnson and Mack start the match off. Mack lands a standing Shining Wizard early on, Great Muta style. We get a standing shooting star by Zane that gets on Christian, that gets a 2 count. Johnson then takes Mack off of the apron and Zane on the outside, and Zane is trapped in his opponent's corner. Mack takes both men out once he is tagged back in, with Christian and Johnson landing a spinning kick into a brainbuster for a close 2 count. Zane lands a no-hand hurricanrana on Johnson in the corner, with Mack hitting a top rope stunner on Christian. That should have been the end of the match, but it was not. It only got a close 2 count. Christian is pushed into a dive on the outside onto Mack, while in the ring lands a foot stomp into a Death Valley driver, with Lee Johnson and Blake Christian picking up the victory, as it takes us to our main event match in the Proving Ground. Lee Moriarty taking on Komander, understandably in a pure rules style match. Back and forth early into a Border City stretch by Moriarty uses Komander's first rope break attempt. A trip by Komander into a leg lock uses Moriarty's first rope break. We get a trio of knees by Moriarty that get a 2 count. We're then 5 minutes into the match with 5 minutes remaining. We get an octopus lock by Moriarty that uses Komander's second rope break, with Komander applying a somewhat similar move soon after using Moriarty's second rope break attempt. We get a double big boot that take out both men. They were listening to my critique. Last week I was telling y'all about the Bandito and Dorada double drop kick spot. That seems more realistic than both men go for a drop kick and then it just brushes off and then they taunt one another. You do the move, you both hit each other, it makes it seem way cooler, and it was kind of a somewhat similar situation here. Back to the match. A double big boot take both men out. We got a tornado DDT by Komander that gets a 2 count. This is followed by a springboard moonsault and a series of roll-ups by Komander that only get a 2 count. Moriarty then applies a sleeper hold in the middle of the ring, with Komander applying a Boston Crab in the middle of the ring with the time limit expiring, and Komander earning a future pure rules or pure title man. I added the rules part. Pure title opportunity. I will say the thing that sucks about this is I looked at the time remaining for the match, and when I see that it started with 10 minutes and there's 11 minutes left of the episode, I'm like, it's probably going the full 10 minutes. So that's thing one. And thing two, Ian Riccaboni mentioned on commentary that Lee Moriarty struggles against luchadors in the Proving Ground, which is another case of it happening here. So we'll be looking forward to these two competing once again. Again, we're on the road to Final Battle 2025. On the channel, if you really care about Final Battle, this week's retro review was a Final Battle 2014. Had a lot of fun filming and talking about that event, as now the plan is to discuss the road to Final Battle 2010, which includes Survival of the Fittest 2010, Fate of an Angel 2, Tag Title Classic 2, and Final Battle 2010, with the idea that that Final Battle 2010 review will be the same week as Final Battle 2025, but everything's always card subject to change. So if you care about and want to hear more about some retro ROH/Final Battle things, you can check those out as well. If you want to see me play a game, I've been playing WWE 2K25's My GM mode for the past 2-ish months. Again, having a lot of fun there. I will admit, if you stayed this far, I'm spoiling the next episode. I am down in the fan advantage, and it really bothers the hell out of me, because it is the first time this season that it's happened, and it bothers the hell out of me, and I have to wait. The main thing that bothers me, it's not really necessarily that, because I feel I could change that. I should be able to change that. The thing that bothers me is having to wait and change it. That's what's bothering me, but hopefully you enjoy the next episode, and you've enjoyed all of the episodes. So I'm not going to keep y'all any longer than I don't have to. I do appreciate y'all for watching this, and I hope to see y'all on next week's Ring of Honor TV review, and I hope to be doing a Ring of Honor TV review next week. So appreciate y'all once again. I'll see y'all when I see y'all. I'm out for now. Goodbye.